The morning star of the unification movement, the life and legacy of Heung Jin Moon, 1966 to 1984. In the tapestry of the Unification Church, few figures occupy a space as poignant, mystical, and central to the movement's theology as Heung Jin Moon. To the world at large, he was a teenager whose life was tragically cut short in a car accident in 1984. To the followers of the Unification Church, he is Heung Jin Nim, a figure who passed through the veil of mortality to become a spiritual intercessor, an icon of sacrificial love, and the architect of a profound theological transformation within the movement. To understand Heung Jin Moon is not merely to recount the dates of his birth and death, but to explore the intersection of personal tragedy and religious devotion. His life, while brief, left an indelible imprint on his family and the thousands of adherents who looked to him as a symbol of hope and divine transition. The early years, growing up in the spotlight. Heung Jin Moon was born on January 23, 1966, the second son of Reverend Sun Myung Moon and Hak Jahan Moon. He was born into an environment defined by the rapid expansion of the Unification Church, an organization that was gaining both prominence and notoriety across the globe. As a child, Heung Jin was often described as vibrant, athletic, and possessed of a kind outgoing disposition. Unlike the more reserved demeanor often expected of children in high-profile religious families, Heung Jin was known among his peers and the unification community as a people person. He had a natural ability to connect with others, a trait that would later be interpreted by his followers as a precursor to his role as a bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds. Growing up, he was surrounded by the intense theological fervor of his parents' ministry. The unification worldview, which emphasizes the restoration of the true family and the necessity of suffering for the sake of global salvation, was the bedrock of his upbringing. By all accounts, Heung Jin internalized these teachings, though he maintained his own distinct personality. He was an avid martial artist, a fan of sports, and had a charm that endeared him to those who served in his household. The fateful winter of 1984. By the age of 17, Heung Jin was living in the United States, attending school and participating in the activities of the Unification Church. On January 2, 1984, while traveling along a snow-covered road in New York, the car Heung Jin was driving collided with a truck. He sustained critical head injuries and was rushed to the hospital. For the next 2 weeks, the unification movement entered a period of intense prayer and collective trauma. Reverend Moon and his wife, along with thousands of members, maintained a vigil, hoping for a miracle. During this time, the narrative of Heung Jin's life began to shift from that of a boy to that of a sacrificial offering. It was during these days of agony that the theological foundation for his future status was laid. Heung Jin Moon passed away on January 15, 1984. He was just 17 years old. The apotheosis, from tragedy to transcendent figure. In the aftermath of his death, the Unification Church underwent a period of profound spiritual reckoning. For a movement that focused heavily on the concept of true parents restoring the world, the loss of a son was framed not as a senseless accident, but as a sacrifice of cosmic significance. Reverend Moon articulated a vision in which Heung Jin had not simply died, he had been promoted. He was described as having ascended to the spirit world to serve as a commander of the angelic hosts, and a mediator between the human realm and the divine. This transition transformed Heung Jin from a teenager into a semi-divine entity within the church's hierarchy, a young king whose authority was recognized by the faithful. This period also saw the rise of the Heung Jin Nim phenomenon. In the months and years following his passing, reports began to emerge from followers who claimed to have encountered his spirit during prayer or through the mediation of select individuals. These claims, while controversial to outsiders, provided immense comfort to a movement struggling with the loss of a symbol of their future. The Heung Jin phenomena and institutional memory. The legacy of Heung Jin Moon eventually became institutionalized. His name was invoked in rituals, and his spirit was believed to be guiding the movement through various challenges. For the parents, the death was a crucible. Reverend Moon spoke often of his son's sacrifice, framing it as a way to soften the hearts of humanity, and to pay a conditional price for the salvation of the world. Critics of the movement have often pointed to the elevation of Heung Jin as a manipulative mechanism of religious control, but for the members, it was a deeply personal process of grief processing and spiritual bonding. By elevating the deceased son, the community was able to maintain a connection to him, keeping his memory alive in a way that felt productive and holy, rather than stagnant and sorrowful. A legacy of contradiction and faith. To analyze the life of Heung Jin Moon is to engage with the complexities of belief. He was a boy who loved basketball and cars, who struggled with the pressures of his lineage, and who was caught in the tragic mechanics of a highway accident. Yet, he is remembered as a celestial figure, a protector, and a martyr of the Unification faith. His life serves as a stark reminder of how religious movements navigate grief. When a prominent figure dies, the community must either let them fade into the past or integrate them into their living, breathing theology. The Unification Church chose the latter, and in doing so, created a figure who, though dead for 4 decades, continues to be honored, whispered about, and venerated during church services worldwide. Heung Jin Moon's life was short, but his impact on the psyche of the unification movement is immense. He remains a symbol of the tension between the mortal world, where cars crash and hearts break, and the world of faith, where love is believed to transcend death, and where the morning star continues to shine for those who look for him.